To address the question of happiness, what is it? Why not go back to Socrates and Plato and Aristotle? That's part of our culture. These very wise ancient Greeks made a distinction between hedonia, not something vulgar or coarse. I would define it as any kind of pleasure we get that comes in response to some pleasant stimulation. It could be seeing your children grow up happy. It could be having an ice cream cone. It could be enjoying beautiful weather. It could be enjoying a difficult problem in mathematics, enjoying all kinds of things, but you're enjoying it because there's something there that's bringing you enjoyment. And that's a type of happiness. And by and large, money can buy it. Or if you can't get it with money, you can get it with prestige or power. And so that's one type of happiness. And to show that this is not trivial, the kind of happiness you have by having enough to eat, by having clothing, shelter, medical care when you need it, and education. That's all hedonic. And we all know there's nothing trivial about that. But then we can ask, is that all there is to happiness? Now we know by hedonia, it's not just being hedonistic and just going for sensual desires all the time. And the ancient Greeks and many other great wise people of the past, including the Buddha and many others, East and West, have highlighted that there's another whole dimension or no domain of happiness, and the Greeks called it eudaimonia. It's genuine well-being. And this is something that comes from within. It's something we bring to life rather than we get from life, and it operates on different dimensions. If we lead an ethical way of life, and by that I mean something very simple, a life that's oriented around the principles of nonviolence and benevolence. That's basically all of Buddhist ethics, and many people can relate to that. If we just stop right there, that's good. If we really orient our lives around these principles, then there's a sense of well-being. The Buddha called it the joy of having a clear conscience, you know, and it is a joy. It's a sense of ease, a sense of contentment that my presence on the earth here has not been of harm. In fact, I think I've done some good. And even if I never meditate for a moment, that's already good, and there's a satisfaction in that. So there's one dimension. There's the dimension of eudaimonia that comes from cultivating the mind, cultivating the heart, cultivating powers of attention, samadhi, cultivating wisdom, cultivating compassion, and so on. And so then even when you're in solitude, maybe even years of solitude, your mind itself is found to be a wellspring of happiness, of eudaimonia. And then finally, there is a sense of joy, it even can be bliss, by coming experientially to know the nature of reality, who you actually are, what's the nature of awareness, what's the nature of reality. And the great sages of history have said this is the deepest form of happiness, the happiness of knowing reality as it is. And I take that at face value. And that, the pursuit of that type of eudaimonia, from ethics, from the cultivation of the heart and mind, and from coming to know reality as it is, I would then, as a disciple of the Dalai Lama, His Holiness Dalai Lama since 1971, he has said this is the very purpose of life, the very meaning of life, and I fully agree with that.